Namaste. Today I am going to take second chapter, second lesson of Standard 12, Lord Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood, and whose author, your writer, you can say is Anis Jan. First of all, I would like to say you about the author. Author Anis Jan, she was born in Rourkela and she was brought up her childhood and adolescence period. She spent in Hyderabad and her parents were writer. She also is a good writer, noted writer in good newspapers in India and abroad. She was a good editor and columnist. And here, this book was published, Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Child was published in 2005. She is known for her vivid and lively descriptions in her work. And the main background of this is the conditions of the deprived children. She's showing, yeah, she wants to bring that picture into our mind. And grinding poverty and traditions which condemns these children, exploits these children. These are the main things shown in this, the life of exploitation. These children on the life of exploitation of these children. Here are two parts in this lesson. Sometimes I found a rupee in the garage. This is the first part. Here the author encounters with a boy named Sahib. Every day she finds him just scrounging. Scrounging is just searching something in the dustbin which is in the neighborhood of the author. Every day the author sees him looking something in there, that he was a rat picker. Author asks him, don't you have anything else to do? So the boy just replies blankly, no, I don't know anything else, he says. Then author asks him, why don't you go to school? So the boy replies, there is no school in their area. Then the author later says, if she builds a school, will he come? He was very happy and he smiles broadly and he says that I will come, I am ready to build a school. After a few days, the boy meets the author again. The boy asks, his first question was whether school is ready. The author feels very embarrassed for making a false promise, and which these boys are generally used to. They are having such a livelihood as such, and they are exploited. She says, no, it takes time to build a school. If it is complete, I'll say that way. Some excuses herself and feels very bad, feels very embarrassed. After this, she finds them. Every morning it takes months of knowing him, and she asks his name. The author asks the name of Sahib, full name. He says Sahib A. Alam, which means the Lord of Universe. Author thinks how inappropriate this name, unsuitable thing. He's a rat picking, he's always looking something for in the dustbins and here and there, and how inappropriate name his parents has kept for him. Even he himself, if he knows the meaning of his name, as Sahib A. Alam means the Lord of Universe, he too will be thinking how suitable the name is. But that was his name. And in that way the author used to know Sahib and his group of boys. They are like an army of boys. They come like birds in the morning and they just disappear in the afternoon. Once what happens, the author asks, you people are not wearing chappal. Why don't you people wear chappal? From the group she asked one of the boys. The boy just says, the chappals are kept on the shelf and my mother didn't get it down. The other boy says, even if his mother gives and he will not wear it, he will throw away. And that boy himself was wearing some torn shoes. The author just observes it and he just shuffles his legs in order to hide it. And the third boy, he was not wearing anything. He says he wanted shoe, so he didn't get any, so he was not wearing. And other excuse the author heard was that it was a tradition to be barefoot. The author was just puzzled. Is it a tradition or are they just trying to hide the stigma of poverty, the condition of to hide the poverty and saying that it is a tradition of not wearing jackets? The author just remembered a boy in the Udupi. He's a young man now, but when he was young, he used to pray to God. The temple which was whenever the boy goes to school, he passed by the temple, and that in the temple his father was praised. The boy's father was praised, and the boy used to pray for a pair of shoes. Now, when the author visited there after nearly 30 years, she finds a lot of differences there. There were plastic chairs behind the temple. The temple's condition was so desolated and it's not so good. But the priest now, his son was wearing school uniform. They're having socks and shoes. Author was happy. At least now the condition has changed. That boy prayed, and she also remembered the prayer of other boy who just prayed to the goddess that his shoes should never go away anywhere. Should be there, and that was granted. It seems like that. So here he remembers it. After getting used friendship with Sai, it leads into the Simapuri. Simapuri is in the Delhi, in the periphery of Delhi. It's a place where Sahib and the people like him, that is the Raktikos, live there. There are nearly 10,000 families, and it is this very, you can say, bad condition of that. The people living in slum areas, like there was no drainage system, no running water. It was so shabby there, and Sahib took him to there. They lived in the lane. There are 10,000, nearly 30 years they are living there without any identity card. Identity card was not important for the people, they said. They just want to get the food. Food, that is the only thing matter, and they just talked about the children. The children should never, they try their best that the children should never go to bed with an aching stomach. That was the thing. And somehow they have got the name in the ration cards which helped them to get some food grains and the voter list. Identity was not at all any important thing. They are nearly came there in 1971, nearly 30 years more they are living there, but they don't have identity of themselves. They say that we are the people, she meets in that Simapuri area, they just say wherever they find the food, they live there. The writer asks, why don't you go to your home, you are having such good field and there is a river. There is the, what you can say, the old people, they just say, it doesn't give them a food grain. They don't get anything to eat here. For search of food and for the better life, they have come to the cities and they have got settled in this Simapuri area and they are surviving there, and their only means is to get food for the survival. And garbage was like a gold to them. Gold means everything and anything for the surviving. So here, Sahib says that sometimes he finds, say, rupees, yeah, even 10 rupees note in the garbage. Sahib says this, and with a flickering in his eyes, with an excitement inside. So, writer comes to know that for garbage for the parents, for the elders, it was just a means of survival. To get something, the shelter, or food for their children. But for children, it was a wrapped wonders. They're having something, it was like magic to them. They just keep searching and finding something new. One morning, in the winter morning, writer saw that Sai was just watching some game. That two young people in white dress, they were playing tennis. He was very busily and intently watching that game. The game which was beyond his reach, his condition was not. He was in such a situation, such a state, and his survival was in such a bad. But still was watching it intently. As soon as he saw the author, he says, sometimes I go in, the watchman allows him to go in and play the swings there. And he was wearing white tennis shoes. As the author looks at shoes, he's, as an excuse, it is someone gave me, he says. And there was a hole in one of the shoes. The author thought that there's this rich people, a rich boy who must have thought, discarded it as it had a hole in that shoes. But to the boy who was always barefoot, it was like a dream come true, because he was very happy to wearing that shoes. But it looked somewhat odd, even the tattered clothes, the white shoes were odd, but still he was happy wearing that. After a few days, author finds on one morning the Sahib, who was having a steel canister on his hand, was going to the milk booth. As he says to author that now he was working in the tea shop, which was at a distance. He shows the author pointing there. And he says that I'm working there, I'm paying 800, they pay me, and even they give the meals that he's getting the food there. But that carefree look, that as a master of his own, that was lost in his face. His face was little grim. It has become little sad because now that steel can was much heavier than the plastic bag he used to carry as a rat picker. Because there he was a master. He was a master and he had the master of his own business. Like rat picking was whenever you want to, you can do that. It was under his command. But now he's under the command of the tea shop owner. He has to work under that. So that carefree look he lost. Now he is no more the free. He had no freedom to think of his own, and he has to work under someone. So that thing, the author observed that the free look, the carefree look was lost from sight forever, as he has to work as an employee under the tea shop. Here we finish the first story. Now we start the second one. The second part is I want to drive a car. Here the main character is Mukesh. Mukesh wants to become a car mechanic. He wants to drive car. That is his dream. And he belongs to the family of making bangles. They live in Firozabad, where that all the families in mostly Firozabad, they are engaged with the bangle making business, where they have to work in the hot furnaces. Yeah. Mukesh's family was also one of them. They are engaged, but Mukesh was a odd man odd type. He dreamt something different. He didn't want to continue that bangle making business. He wanted to become a motor mechanic, and he wanted to learn driving cars. Now Firozabad area, where the whole environment is filled with the dust of these bangle making businesses, people are, even the children, they are engaged in this, and if law is implied there, nearly 20,000 children, they will be getting out of this business. They are illegally working there. Even their families didn't know this was an illegal work. Mukesh takes the author to his place as home, as he says that his grandfather is a father has rebuilt the house. When she goes there, it was so stingy, it was so shabby, and there was no drainage system, nothing like it. Again, similar to that Sahib's place like that here. When they go there, she finds that a young girl, little older than Mukesh, was the wife of Mukesh's elder brother, was cooking something there, with all the green leafy vegetables around her. And as soon as the father, Mukesh's father enters, she like a good bahu, you can say, a good daughter, that she put a veil over her face just to hide her face, as it was a custom there. She was a good, as she was a good daughter-in-law, you can say, in that sense, a custom there. Then his mother, the grandmother says, what to do, this is the stigma of her life, where it was just a, you can say, God's wish. There was no other chance, they had to work in there. And the grandfather says, he had nothing else, he knows. He tried as a tailor, then the laborer, but he couldn't. He returned to this bangle making business, and he taught the same business to his son. He couldn't send them to school, or he couldn't build a good house. Nothing they got from, but still they kept continuing this. It's his karam, his destiny, says Mukesh, grandmother. After who has seen her husband working in this glass making, this bangle making factories, furnaces, and has lost his eyes, has turned blind. She says, God's wish, and we can't break this dream. And it is the caste. They are born in the bangle making caste, so they cannot come out of it. It was his grandmother's answer. Later, the writer sees a young girl, Savita, who was so mechanically bending the glass, making the bangles. The author just thinks whether she really knows what does the bangle means to the people, to the Indian woman. Later, if she also grow up, she will be given the same thing. She will be wearing it as it is an Indian custom for a married girl She was just imagining whether that really the girl know that she will be wearing it in her wrist after some time, as that grandmother who was still wearing in her wrist. But and the grandmother also says that even after making so many bangles or even remaining this, they didn't have a day with full meal. They didn't have stomach full food that she didn't have in her whole lifetime. Stomach full food. She just says that. So what did they get? Nothing. But still they are continuing that bangle making. Why? Because they are in a stigma. Yeah, you can say the poverty. Yeah, the caste they are born. They say that they can't get out of it. It's a vicious circle which is passing from generation to generation to generation. So you have to continue it. Then the later the author meets the young people, the youngsters who are also doing the same thing. He said, why don't you make a cooperative and do something to improve your conditions? So the just the answer is they said they don't dare, they can't dare because the policemen, the middlemen, the saukar, the politician, they may beat them or they may put them in the jail. So they don't want to do this and they can't dare to do this, whether they will be jailed. This was the answer thing. So the writer says that they have lost the thing to dare. They are so afraid of this and they are so got into this vicious circle that they are not trying to even come out. Yeah, it is so deep inside that the root is so deep that the daring thing has gone out of them. There's two distinct families. The writer finds here two distinct families, two distinct world. One, the family that has caught in the web of poverty, burden, and the stigma of caste. The stigma of caste in which they are born. And the other is the middlemen, the saukars, the politicians, you can say the policemen, the keepers of law, the bureaucrats and politics. They are just getting higher and higher, and these people are getting suppressed and suppressed. So this together they have been imposed the baggage, and they are imposing this baggage on the children also, and these things are not even improving their condition. They are living in a, they can say, just house with a leaking roof. So they are continuing to do these things. And during this, the only thing which makes the author happy as far as the Mukesh. Mukesh is something different from that bangle making family. At least he thinks different. He even says that if he has to walk miles to learn the driving, he is ready to do that. If he gets a pity job in the nearby garage, he will walk and go. He will do that mechanic. He will try to learn that mechanic work, and he will even try to drive that car and learn to driving a car so that he can come out. At least he thinks something different. So the author feels happy. At least he has the daring. He is different from those people who are getting suppressed, who are deep in the roots of the bangle making businesses. So when the author meets Mukesh, he says, if you get a chance, if you want, don't you feel like flying the planes? So Mukesh says, no, embarrassed. I'm just sleeping on the ground and not directly. Because one of the reasons is he has not seen much planes flying over the fields of our area. He don't have much ideas about the plane. He's just happy, contented that he wants to become a driver, to drive a car and learn a motor. At least he has an aim. He has a dream. That is the thing. The author only says that children who are under the poverty, they get a chance. If anyone provided, they can get out of that condition, the suppressed condition which they are surviving. She analyzes this, she studies them deeply, and she wants to bring that picture into us to see the condition of these people, condition of their children. They are also imposing, forced to do the same thing and continue. And if some are trying, they are stopped by these middle people, the policemen, whatever, the saukars, the money lenders. At least Mukesh had that time. And he lost it. As he took the job, he lost his freedom. He became an employee under that. Picking was also not good. At least there he was a master of his own. Here Mukesh has a dream, and we just hope that his dream will be fulfilled. So this is summary about the condition. We see the conditions of two poor children into different area, and the author has tried to analyze the means of surviving, how they come, how they grow, and being interpreted. We should try at least. We should learn from this thing that there are many people who are deprived, many children who are deprived of the livelihood, whatever we are getting. So I hope you must have understood this chapter. After going to the lesson, if you find any hard words, just message me, and then we are supposed to write the question answers. Thank you.